So this question asks you to find sine of x over 2, given that cotangent of x is 5, and this inequality here. That just basically, 180 degrees to 270, that basically says your angle x is in the third quadrant. Well, should be a pretty straight up question, right? It's asking us to find sine of x over 2. We have half angle formula, so it's just an application of the half angle formula. But if you look at the half angle formula, for sine, that equals plus or minus the square root of 1 minus cosine of x all over 2. We got two issues. Number one, I need to know what the cosine is, and number two, I need to know if it's positive or negative. That's where these extra pieces of information come into play. First things first, as always, since basically the entire unit, I'm a broken record. Anytime they give you an exact trig ratio, you can always draw a triangle. Now, this is not a ratio yet, but we can always make it a ratio by putting it over 1. So for this piece of information here, if I have a right triangle with an angle of x, I know that his cotangent adjacent over opposite is going to be 5 over 1. And then you use Pythagoras' theorem to figure out the missing side. So what is that? That's going to be square root of 26, 25 plus 1, yep. Now, let's take care of the plus or minus. Now, the plus or minus will depend, I'll use a different color, that's hard to see. This depends on the quadrant x over 2 is in, right? It depends on whatever quadrant the angle that you're working with is in. So notice how they give you this piece of information. That gives you information about the quadrant where the regular x is in. We need to know what quadrant x over 2 is in. So to figure that out, you just simply divide everything by 2, right? So if 180 degrees is less than x is less than 270 degrees, then 180 degrees over 2 is less than x over 2, which is less than 270 over 2, which is 90, less than x over 2, less than, what's that, 135. What does this mean? All this means says x over 2 is in quadrant 2. And because I know that we're in quadrant 2 and I'm dealing with the sine function, we know that sine must be positive, so we keep the positive answer. So that's it. We're good to go. We can answer this question now. So this equals the positive 1 minus the cosine of the angle. Since I have a complete picture, I know what the cosine is. That's 5 over the square root of 26 all over 2. That didn't match any of our choices, so that just means we had some algebraic manipulations and simplifications to do. I recognize that we have a compound fraction, so let's not do a compound fraction. Let's go ahead and get rid of it by multiplying by the LCD, and the LCD is simply the radical piece. So that's going to be radical 26 minus 5 all over 2 radical 26. That still doesn't match all of our answers. It looks like they rationalize things, so we're going to rationalize by multiplying top and bottom by the radical 26 once more to get rid of this radical here. So multiplying top and bottom, I guess I'll show it here. Radical 26, radical 26. Multiply top and bottom by radical 26 gives us the square root of 26 minus 5 radical 26 all over 26 to, that's 52. And that was an option on the quiz, so that is our value.